Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the B2B Pipeline Pioneers Show with your favorite guest host, me, Ariana Shannon, Director of Brand Marketing here at SalesIntel. This show is dedicated to helping teams build winning pipelines because we believe that pipelines, they're a team sport. It's not just your marketer. It's not just your BDR or success or a product. We all have to work together in concert to move ourselves towards that shared goal, very important shared goal that we're all trying to achieve. It literally takes a village, and I'm so happy to have part of that village with us here today. I'm joined by Miss Heidi, founder and CEO of GirlzWhoSell. Heidi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ariana. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Let's kick things off with just our first opening question. What do you do to drive pipeline? How
Yeah,
does
so I'm going to put on my go-to-market hat because today I have leaned into full-time entrepreneurship as the founder and CEO of Girls Who Sell. So that's a little bit different role. Although I do have to generate my own pipeline to generate my own revenue. I'm kind of a one-person show. So, but I do have 35 years, over 3 decades in sales leadership and management roles, as well as I've spent a lot of time in individual contributor roles. So anyway, I'm going to put on my go-to-market leadership hat. And I would say that, in that role, one of the biggest challenges that we always had was, I would say it falls into two buckets. One is really refining our ICP. And the reason that I say that is because sales today have gotten so incredibly complex that on average, you could have anywhere from, I don't know, 12 or 13 up to 22 buyers as a part of the decision-making process. And so particularly in a complex sale. So I spent my career in the business process outsourcing world, and it has gotten increasingly more complex over the years. And there's the primary decision makers, there's influencers from different groups that are part of it. There's the executive team, there's finance, so on and on and on. And what I found is that really identifying who the primary decision maker is, but then also establishing relationships with the other buying groups that could potentially influence the sale is really critical, but incredibly difficult thing to do because it's not a one size fits all. And we have found that we had to do a lot of customization and personalization in terms of our sales messaging and our marketing messaging and strategy to adapt to the different buyer groups within an organization. And so I don't know, for me, that's been one of the most challenging things. I think evolving in terms of more challenging is just the integration of technology and how quickly technology is changing and the impact that it's having. So looking at AI and other technologies that are being integrated as a part of the sales process is something I think that's probably going to be next up in terms of how we successfully integrate AI into our overall sales and marketing strategies.
Gotcha. So really diving into that next question of what was your biggest pipeline challenge, you had talked about getting to power, essentially finding the correct person within that buying committee, but being that there's also just the fact that there's over 10 people in any buying decision now just makes it very difficult for a company to make moves and make decisions. So one, I can understand how that's also challenging working as the seller into that prospecting account to say, okay, well, they've got all these decision makers. Do they know who makes decisions at their organization? It can be a challenge. But then I also love where you took that of like, okay, how can we adapt to this, because it's all about making it a smoother process for your prospects and for yourself as well as your primary entrepreneurial hat being that founder-led salesperson. Was there any other challenge that you um, experienced in 2023 that you want to dive into, or do you want to go to our next question?
Well, no, there are quite a few. So I would say the other challenge, just given the complexity of a business to business sale today, regardless of industry, right? Like even across industry, it's not just specific to tech sales, although tech sales tend to be pretty complex, but even across industries, because of the number of decision makers that are involved in the process, the whole process itself has become more complex. And ultimately, the impact that has had is has slowed down the sales cycle and the buying decision. So as a leader, and even as a sales executive or individual contributor, when we're tasked with delivering on our revenue objectives, for the year, having longer sales cycles obviously has a significant impact on our ability to be able to make and deliver on those goals. What that has done is it has increased the the funnel, right, in terms of pipeline. So the active pipeline that a sales person and a sales leader needs to have, active at any given time, because of the elongated sales cycle, has exponentially increased, which is obviously challenging. So that was an increase. That was a challenge. The other thing is just the whole integration and alignment with marketing. So spent a lot of time in 2023 working with and building bridges with the marketing department in terms of having alignment on how we define a marketing qualified lead. What are the right stats that we need to measure towards on a MQL versus a sales accepted lead versus a sales qualified lead, and then what are the actual reasonable conversion percentages that we can expect in at each of those stages. So that was challenging. We had to go through an entire revamp of our definition of an MQL, which the marketing department didn't like. And as a sales leader, I didn't get marketing to move as far as I would have liked, but I think we ended up, at a good compromise. And what ended up happening is, there was some misalignment as well in terms of how marketing was measured, their measurement of success, and how sales was measured. And so we needed to actually revamp some of those goals. So marketing was measured on the number of MQLs that they generated into the pipeline. Well, great, but if those MQLs were unqualified and had zero propensity to buy, then are they really an MQL? My opinion is no, right? They're not. So we implemented some different scoring mechanisms to be able to better identify a prospective customer's propensity to buy and engage, right? Now, what that did, the ultimate result to that was that the number of MQLs decreased, which we needed to realign the marketing goals, right? But the sales accepted lead and sales qualified lead percentages increase. So to me, especially as a sales leader, that's a win. I would say those were probably my three biggest challenges in 2023.
No, absolutely. And I can see how the alignment can be a root of all of that because even where I'm coming from, Heidi, I completely understand. And for all the marketers listening out there, I'll rep us for just a second, allow us. Yes, bringing in leads is great. We always, and that's what we're always asked. We want more. And when do we want it? Yesterday. That is the
Of
constant
course.
mantra from any executives to the marketing department. We want more leads and we wanted them yesterday. But it's all about really, I see it through like cost of opportunity. So like if you look at your paid channel, if you're measuring like cost per lead, that's only so much that you're getting. But if you're looking at cost per qualified opportunity, then you have a much better understanding of where your budget's going and how and what it's actually generating for your pipeline and make CEOs like you happy, Heidi. But
Yeah.
off my soapbox and we'll move on to our
No, I
next.
agree. And just one thing I would like to add, it's, it's sort of the classic marketing pointing at sales and sales pointing at marketing, right? So sales saying, I'm not meeting my sales goal because marketing's not delivering qualified leads, and marketing saying, well, I'm not delivering on my MQL goals because sales sucks and they're not following up and they don't know how to sell. And, and so it's kind of that classic thing. So I do think that we can't work in silos anymore. I think that organizations, in order to be successful, have to embrace team selling, and everyone has to be marching to the same tune. And we have to have alignment on the end game on what we're trying to achieve as an organization, or else it'll fail. It's just a prescription for failure. Yeah.
No, absolutely, because then you have teams with conflicting goals, and that's where the root of the conflict is. But let me dig a little deeper into that with you, Heidi.
Okay.
When you're looking ahead into 2024, we're here now.
Mhm.
We're all trying to experiment with new things. Are you continuing that goal of alignment within your organization, or is there something else that you're really focused on accomplishing this year?
I mean, I'm not in that role anymore, but if I were still working in corporate, and I was still, yeah, I don't think that I would ever abandon
Mhm.
the alignment. In fact, I think it needs to even go beyond just sales and marketing. I think there needs to be executive alignment, there needs to be board alignment, there needs to be alignment with finance, and so we need to triangulate and build bridges between all those organizations, and that's something that I will continue to be dedicated to doing as a sales leader. I think the big thing in 2024 is what I had mentioned earlier, is how do we successfully integrate these different technologies, so chat GPT and AI technologies, and my head is exploding. There's so many options. I don't even know anymore, like what's real, what's not, but
I
it's was
I
that.
I think you can tell a little if you've maybe it's just because I've been experimenting with them too, Heidi, but anytime I see like in today's competitive landscape or any buzzwords like unlock, empower, it's just instantly reads AI to me.
Oh yeah, and I can definitely tell, but I think the big thing is, one, how do we regulate it, right? And then two, just from a sales perspective, how do we strike that delicate balance of utilizing technologies to empower sales executives and to be more efficient, and have a stronger opportunity to gain more information about their customers' business challenges, without impacting the need to still relationship sell, right? And at the end of the day, and I know this is not a popular opinion, and I know there are some people out there that would say that AI, that you don't ever need a salesperson, that AI can do this full
Mhm.
cycle, start to finish. And maybe that will be proven out over time. But at the end of the day, and call me old fashioned, I still believe that people buy from people, and you can use it, effectively for some lead generation and for, to um, better educate and equip salespeople to be more prepared for a sales interaction. But I just don't see today that those tools are going to fully replace a full cycle salesperson. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, you're in good company. There's definitely, I think there's a small percentage that maybe think that that's going to happen eventually, and perhaps the AI will be so intelligent at that time. But again, even at SalesIntel, we have that human element. It's very present in our data verification because we have AI machine learning for years. We've already
Right.
we've been doing that, but you have to have that extra human touch to really make the quality better in what you're doing. So it's all about how do you use it responsibly? How can you get that into your system, and into your processes to make it work? So I'm excited to hear more about that from you later this year. And in fact, I think we've got a couple of episodes that are also around this topic. So I might send a few of those to you after as well to maybe spark some ideas. But for now, Heidi, how about we try to spend some pennies together? Are you ready for your 100 pennies exercise?
I'm always about spending money, so sure.
Awesome.
Especially when it's somebody else's money, so that's good.
Yes, yes. Retail therapy. Retail therapy is a real thing here. Okay, let me get my screen share going. All right, Heidi, you have 100 pennies in this scenario to spend to show how you are investing your time, resources, energy into various channels of your go-to-market motion. You can spend your 100 pennies in 10-cent increments, and you've got a myriad of channels down here, but we also have other because there's always something new that someone's trying, and we love to hear that creativity. So let me ask you, Heidi, where are you spending your pennies?
Yeah, so I think you know, the first for me is in customer-led growth, because I think at the end of the day, your customers identify, the demand for your product or not. And even once you close an initial sale with your customer, your ongoing growth, year over year, comes from your customer. So I definitely think that that's a critical component. I would say I probably put 25 cents, or 25. I don't know.
You do
That's
20.
20. All right. How about 20? Oh, I did do 20.
No, you can. Right now you spent 10. So you've got
Oh, okay. So it's 10
10.
penny. Okay. So I would do 20 there for now.
Okay.
So I'd put another 10. Then I think sales led growth. Obviously, I'm a sales leader, so I'd like to think that the sales team impacts that. So I would definitely put like 30 cents in sales led growth.
Boom. Half
Um,
he's
I
gone.
would I would put another 20 in marketing led growth.
Alrighty.
Um, and I think so, interestingly enough, but I'm not a big fan of product led growth. I think that the market drives product. So I certainly wouldn't spend that should come out of somebody else's budget. I wouldn't be spending money on that.
Well,
Um,
and PLG isn't for everyone. Not every
exactly.
product or service can be put into a product like motion where you're saying, I'm going to put this up on an e-commerce site and the leads will come pouring in. That just doesn't happen for everybody. So no surprise that you're
It
putting
it
it.
doesn't. And I'm not a big fan of event led growth. or which I know probably surprises you. But I think that you can use events strategically. But to be honest, I think it's flushing money down the toilet. I've spoken at a lot of events. I've spent a lot of money on events, and just overall, I haven't seen a return on investment that I would like from events. Where I do think I'm seeing a lot of potential is in community and partnership. I kind of think that's the future of sales and marketing. So I would definitely put 10 cents in community and 10 cents in partnership. And then final my final my final 10 cents, I'm torn. I'm torn between brand and founder. I think the founder having developing brand awareness, but it and putting themselves out there as leader of the company is good. So perhaps then even that would be a subset of brand. So I'd probably put it in brand led growth.
No, and that makes sense because, and you're not the first person to say, well, those things kind of have an overlap. And
Yeah.
yes, but this is purposeful. This is to call attention to why. Why are you doing this? So if it's through a brand, that's really leaning into like the company's name versus the founder is embodying that brand and saying, this is who I am when we're an established organization and I'm an evangelist for the organization. It's just a different way of accomplishing the same goal.
The same goal. And to me, that's kind of table stakes. If the founder isn't out there and pounding the pavement and connecting with customers and connecting with prospects and on LinkedIn and speaking and evangelizing their brand, then you probably have the wrong founder. They should be doing that. And that's what they get paid to do, right? They get paid a lot of money to do that. But I do think building brand awareness, particularly across social media channels, is really important. I don't know that it necessarily drives sales or you're going to meet 100% of your revenue goal, but it is important for a brand to be top of mind and to build credibility when an organization is making a buying decision. And the first thing they're going to do, because customers today and prospects are very well educated. They're 60, 70% down the buying path before they even have a conversation with sales.
Okay.
And that's because they've gone and done their research and looked at your messaging across different channels. So having a brand strategy and brand awareness is important. At the end of the day, it comes down to, are your customers happy? And is sales and marketing doing their job? And how can you better leverage community and partnerships to be able to drive growth?
No, absolutely. I love that callback to touching all the points that you did. All right. So you've got 30 in sales, 20 in customer, 20 in marketing, and then 10 in community partnerships and brand. Heidi, let's see where your bets are stacking up with the rest of the community. All right, so now on the screen, we've got our community benchmark here. This is what our surveys came back with, and no surprise, a lot of people at the time were saying, we're gonna lead with a sales motion. So Heidi, let's get yours on here. And now you should be able to see your bets in orange. Tell me what's the first thing that comes to mind when you look at this graph?
The first thing that comes to mind is I'm shocked that people are not more focused on customers. So maybe that's the problem. Is that companies today are not customer centric, and that could be why they're having such a challenge delivering on their sales objectives. So that's shocking to me. But other than that, it seems like I'm pretty, pretty aligned, um, fairly aligned.
Yeah, no, you're just leading with your best foot forward by listening to your customers and understanding what's working best there. And that makes complete sense, especially with everything you've spoken about today about alignment and focusing on your customer and trying to bring AI into your process. It's all of how can we make this a better process? How can we actually move more efficiently to get to our end goal? So thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I look at look at the chart, to me, that's more of a traditional,
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me. So, not to justify my answers, but to justify my answers,
Mm.
I think, um, it's a more modern way of approaching sales.
No, absolutely. And that's where the community shift is starting to happen. Everyone looking into community, into partnerships.
And the partnerships, it's happening, right? And, so yeah, so I
Awesome.
stand by my decisions.
Absolutely. Be declarative. This is how I spent my money and I have no regrets. I love it. Well, Heidi, thank you so much for your expertise and joining us today. Really appreciate your insights and looking forward to see where your bets pan out in 2024.
Thank you so much, Ariana. I appreciate it.